Katie, thanks for joining me today on our podcast. It's good to have you
Happy to
here.
be here. So
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. I love just the amount of firsts that we get. I know we're going to get to this a point in the podcast where we're going to have repeat guests and stuff, but it's always fun to just bring like new voices on and just to get your perspective. Man, how's your week been so far?
It's been good. It's been so good just adjusting to time and coming back from Africa.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think 5 a.m. is like my new wake up time, which I'm not mad about. Like, I woken up, I started dishes at 5:30 in the morning the other day.
Just getting a lot of stuff done before people get
I,
up.
I really am, so I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
Just, I usually go to bed a lot earlier
It's
now
like
too.
a internal alarm clock thing. Like you're
Yeah.
not even like setting your alarm clock. You're just waking up at
No, no,
5.
just wide awake.
Yeah, man, it's just like I remember growing up and my grandparents would get up like super early and you're
Uh-huh.
thinking like, man, I will never. But
Yes.
even now, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. on
Ooh,
different days, like 3 days of the week to go to the gym just to start my day. But one, it's the easiest time to go. But then
yeah.
I get to 7 p.m. and I'm like, man,
It's
now I know why my grandparents went to bed after Wheel of Fortune.
yes,
Like,
yes. Yeah.
this whole thing. So yeah, it's good. You're getting acclimated.
Yeah, it's
You
been
guys
good.
had a great trip.
It was
Excited that you
amazing.
got to go there. Just thinking about things that's happened this week. Just I love sharing with people the ins and outs of things. We had almost an interesting Sunday
Yeah.
this Sunday because I got a text message from Marisol. It was either Friday, I think it was Saturday. It's like, hey, there's a bird in the building,
Oh my
like
goodness.
just
Like
flying around.
that's
I think
wild.
she said like it's hopping down the hallway, and I'm scared to go get it. And then I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do about it? Like I don't know. I've never,
Campus pastor,
you
bird
know,
extraordinaire.
you just never know. And thankfully, I couldn't get it out, but Erica Pearson, our kids director, was like, "Oh, there's been birds in there before. I've gotten them out." Like she's the bird
She
whisperer,
is so unfazed.
something.
She's
So
amazing.
yeah, so she came because she had to be up here. She's like, "I'll take care of it. I love her." I'm like, "Thank you so much."
Yeah.
And I think the bird ended up knocking itself out because it flew into a window.
Oh my
And so that
goodness.
made the job easier for them
Just
to ease the bird out.
that's
But
wild.
man, you just never know what you're gonna have to deal with.
That's
And
wild.
I think by the time I get to the end of ministry and I'm like retired or whatever, if I ever get to that point, I'm gonna have so many different stories that are just
Yeah.
random
Yeah.
that I can share
Yeah.
with people. Like you would never expect what I had to do. Like it was not in my job description
I was
that
gonna say, a minister's job description, uh, if it were to truly be written out, would be so long and so
yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and it makes me like want to go ask even other pastors, like, tell me some stories, not about your congregation, not about church life. Tell me some stories about things you've had to handle that you never expected
Oh yeah,
that you would have to handle. And
yeah,
I know you've had even those stories as well, but it's fun to talk about
it
them, and
is.
it's fun to let other people know like there's weird random things that happen
Yep,
around here. So hopefully we don't have another bird in the building at any time, but I guess people just need to be on the lookout just in case,
just in case.
So yeah, so this Sunday, still in our series, it was week 2 of hard questions, which I love this series. It's really, one, it's challenging, but it's causing you to like really think and
Yeah.
dive deep into questions that so many different people have.
Hmm.
And we're continuing it on again this coming Sunday with another message in this series. But this week was more, PK was leaning into the question of, are there many pathways to God? Which I think a lot of non-believers, that is a question at the top of their list whenever it comes to faith and whether or not they should believe. You know, uh, this question matters today because in culture there's opinions everywhere,
Hmm.
and the the truth is there's only one way to God, and it's
Yeah,
Jesus, and we know that.
yeah,
But when people hear Jesus is the only way, like when they visit church, or maybe they have family members who are believers, and they're constantly maybe witnessing them getting the gospel in front of them, and they're saying like, hey, look, to to get to heaven, to get to God, you have to believe in Jesus. You have to put your faith in him.
Yeah.
What do you think their first emotional reaction, or what have you experienced to be the first emotional reaction to people
Yeah.
who may have a tough time grasping that?
Yeah. Well, I really do love this series. I think it's forcing us to be able to articulate in a very practical sense of like what we do believe and help others to be able to articulate what we believe and why we believe it. And so I think it's super practical. And I think about how when we say like there's only one way, I think it's really easy for us believers and non-believers to think that, oh, I can earn my way into heaven. I can do works that are going to get me into heaven. I can believe, but not have to live it out or practically apply it. And I think as followers of Jesus and people who are interested in following Jesus, when we have to get to that point where we put into practice living it out, that's a whole nother level of intimacy with God of, God, I trust you. But then when your child's in the hospital, what does that look like? God, I trust you. Or God, I believe that you're going to take care of this situation and the bills are piling up, but the practical of like, okay, God, how am I going to live that out?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's so good for us to kind of walk through that and talk through that.
Yeah, because even those questions like you're talking about could even make a believer really question,
Yeah.
is this true? Is it right? Is he the only way?
Yeah.
Um, and I love what Pastor Kevin really started out with in this whenever we're talking about telling people that, like telling
Mhm.
people like to get to God, you got to go through Jesus. Is he was saying if someone asks about your Christian hope, always be ready to explain it. So that goes back to even what you're saying when you go
Yeah.
through those hard times. If somebody comes up to you and asks, "How are you making it through this? How are you so positive? How do you have so much peace as you're walking through this storm?" PK was like, "Always be ready to explain it." But he followed it with this, but do it in a
Gentle.
gentle
Yep.
and respectful way. And I love that
Yeah.
he pointed that out because it's so easy to get defensive.
Yeah.
Now I've been in that point before where I'm trying to explain why I believe what I believe and trying to explain what Jesus means to me, and I get a little bit of pushback. It's really easy to go on the defensive and try to defend
Yeah.
Jesus. And I like him pointing that out is like, well, Jesus doesn't need defending.
No. Yeah.
But also, if you're wanting to get people to enter into this hope and this peace that only God can give, only Jesus can give, then you have to do it. Like you have to represent that by doing it in a peaceful way.
Yeah. I thought that was so interesting too. I like wrote that down. I was like, gentle, interesting. Like, it's very true. If we're gonna talk to people about Jesus, arguing and trying to get all theologically um, butting heads with one another, people aren't gonna want to know Jesus if we're misrepresenting Jesus.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, like we are supposed to be the hands and feet. We're supposed to show his love. And that doesn't mean that God doesn't have a righteous, holy anger, right? Like God isn't just passive, but also the Bible talks about vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And so, like, we don't have to be people that are seeking defense of Jesus. Like you said, like that's not our job, but our job is to testify to his goodness and to talk about what he has done in our life and how he has changed us. And to do that in a way with gentleness is so powerful, especially in the nitty gritty and in the
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something that I was told a long time ago is I think we can get so defensive because we almost put the weight on our shoulders that it's
Yeah.
our job to make them believe.
Yeah.
Whenever our job is not to make them believe, our job is not to get them to salvation. Our job is to just plant the seed.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to plant that seed is by coming at it with kindness
Mm-hmm.
and with love and that gentleness that PK was talking about. So I love that he, right from the start, made it a point to mention that.
Yeah.
To really like just hone us in to understand what it is we're actually responsible for and how to approach it.
Yeah.
And then he goes into really just talking about how it's such a big question, I think, in today's world, maybe now more so than ever, of this, well, why can I not believe that there's multiple pathways to God? And I think that it's because we live in a world full of options right now. There's
Yeah.
so many options available to us now that never have been. You think about it, we have streaming options,
Yeah.
we have shopping options, we have food options. And I think that mindset shapes how people view God, where it's like, well, we are trained to think that there's multiple options everywhere. So
Yeah.
why can't that apply to?
Yeah, everything's customized. Like you can pick what makes sense for you based off of your needs. You can pick your preferences, and so I do think that if we're not careful, or if people aren't careful, they could nitpick like, oh, I want to believe this attribute of God, or I want to believe in this aspect of God, but I don't really believe this part of the Bible, and that's not how it is. Like it is believing that that scripture is God's word. It is believing that we go to God through Jesus. And as you were talking just a moment ago about our words and stuff, I was picturing like just a plant and how have you ever seen those studies where it's like someone speaking kind words to a plant and the plant grows and it thrives? Like it sounds really cheesy, but I do think about how our job is to water. Our job is to plant seeds, and it's God's job to bring life, to
Yeah.
bring fruit, and to bear fruit. And I think about how if we're speaking unkind or we're representing God in a way that doesn't reflect his character, or we're dumping fuel, our anger, our unhealth into someone's life and speaking that over them, what result is going to come? What fruit is going to come? And so I just think it's super, super powerful, not to go too far back, but into
Oh,
that picture is just kind of what I saw.
yeah.
Is just we're planting seeds. Some of us are going to water someone else's seeds. But what are we putting on it? Are we putting something healthy and life-giving? Are we putting our biases, our frustrations, our short-temperedness at times? And yeah, so what was your question again? I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Like I love that visualization. I cannot say that word of it, but really the question would be when we're looking at options, like how we have so many different options. Why do you think our culture naturally connects options with truth or with our spirit, the spiritual side of us?
Yeah.
Why are we relating that together?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are things in the Bible that we don't have maybe as clear of answers, or different things about God as clear picture as we want. And so if we're not careful, we could nitpick, I believe that, or I believe this. And then you get to a place where you're losing the fundamentals, you're
Yeah.
losing the importance of, okay, God, I don't understand it, but I trust you. Because that's an important part of our walk with Jesus, is having those, I don't understand, I don't know, but my faith is in you, my trust is in you, and I'm going to move forward pursuing you despite not having all the answers. And so when we get super nitpicky and our customizations, all the options, um, I definitely think it can take us on a little bit of a self-centered path.
That's good. And it's almost like cherry picking what you want
Yeah,
to apply to yourself from the Bible.
yeah,
PK said one of the quotes he had inside of his section was one of the values of the modern world is the idea of multiple choices. We've
mm,
come to expect a lot of choices in our culture. And it got me to thinking as I was looking over his notes in preparation for Sunday is I thought of this example of just everyday life that I go through whenever we go through a drive-through, and
mhm,
it's Lisa in the front seat, and then we have Lincoln and Jackson with us, and maybe the girls are with us too. But I get to the drive-through, and everybody is telling me what they want.
uh-huh,
And so I'm the one because I'm in the driver's seat that I have to tell that. And heaven forbid I get one of the customizations for the boys wrong. Because if like Lincoln's chicken sandwich has pickles on it, well then the world's ending
oh,
because there's pickles there. Like there can't be
I like
pickles.
extra pickles.
I'm with you on that. But I'm there and they're giving me the orders, and then I pull up and I'm having to recall
Mm.
everything. And I swear there is more pressure in me in that moment than whenever I was a kid playing Super Mario and the timer goes down to like 100 and the music gets
Yeah.
faster. Like stress inducing.
Yeah.
And then I get there, I get all of their orders done, and then I'm sitting there like, what do I want? Like I haven't even sit here
Yeah.
thinking about what do I want, and then I'm in the Taco Bell drive-through ordering a Big Mac 'cause I forget where I'm even at, right?
Yeah.
And I use that illustration to show that whenever you have too many choices or too many
Mm.
things being thrown at you, it creates confusion and not clarity.
That's good. That's really good.
There's just so much confusion in it. And I think, and I would love your perspective on this. Do you think that that decision overload that we have each and every day, because there's so many decisions we make from the time we get up to the time we go to bed, does that affect how we make decisions spiritually? Like, are we
Mm.
just automatically shifting that over to Jesus?
Yeah, I for sure. I definitely think decision fatigue is a thing. Like, I get to the point where Marcus will ask me the most basic question in the most kindest way, like, do you want ice water or do you want something? Like, he's being so sweet and so kind. I'm like, I don't know, don't ask me one more thing. And just, we do get that decision fatigue. And eh, when it comes to Jesus, I think that, again, it is where we don't have to make a decision. We make the ultimate decision. Like,
Yeah.
God, I trust you. God, I follow you. And we make the daily decision to follow him. But if we just stopped trying to cherry pick or stopped trying to have all these different things and we just focused on who God is and what he's done for us and the life that he's designed for us to live, each so personally, right? Like, I think that's the coolest thing about our God versus maybe some other religions, gods, and belief system is that our God is so personal to us. Like, he knows every aspect of us, and he knows what you wanted from Taco Bell and or McDonald's.
Yeah.
But it's incredible to me that we don't have to sit and make all the decisions. We just are making the decision, God, I trust you. God, I want to follow you. God, I want a relationship with you. And in time, God gives us answers, right? Like, God gives us clarity. There's so many things where in the moment, I'm like, God, I don't understand why you did what you did, why you didn't do what I prayed for, right? Like, I prayed for something to
Yeah.
happen, and God didn't answer my prayer the way I thought it was going to be answered. And in my head, like, it was a great answer, right? Like, it was I had it figured out. And then sometimes down the road, God will reveal to me why he didn't answer it the way I wanted him to. And a lot, when I get to see that, when I get to see God moving and working, I'm always so grateful and so thankful because it's a million times better than what I thought I was going to get from the prayers I did pray. And then on the other side, sometimes God doesn't give us the clarity of why he chose something different for us. Um, we're left with maybe some what ifs or maybes, and that's okay too. And again, that's just where we have to trust him and his character.
Yeah. That's really good. And I love the shift with Jesus here, because Jesus fully understood that there was going to be people in this world who felt like, well, if I'm just a good person, that's going to get me to
Mm-hmm.
God. If I just live my life the best way I can and do the right things and say the right things, and if I'm just generally a good person,
Yeah.
then God will love me enough to get me into heaven. And that is such a dangerous, misconception,
Yeah.
because then we're putting all of the responsibility on our shoulders, like if we can measure up enough.
Mm.
And
Wow.
um, in John 14:6, Jesus really just stops that, and Jesus
Mm-hmm.
just tells everybody, look, I am the way, the truth, and
Truth
the
and life.
life. Like,
Yeah.
no one gets to the Father
Except
except
through me.
through me. And Jesus doesn't say, I'm one of the ways, I'm one of multiple ways. No, he
Hmm.
just says, look, I'm it.
I'm the way.
Like I am the way, and that's an exclusive claim. It's not multiple options. Like
Hmm.
Jesus right there is forcing clarity. He is
Yeah,
taking confusion off the table. And I think not being defensive, but the one verse that I would go to, or for anybody that's watching this that's trying to figure out how do I not defend, but how do I stand for my faith and explain why Jesus is the only way to my friends who have questions, I think that verse right there,
that's good.
John 14:6, is the way to go. And Pastor Kevin said Jesus spoke directly to this. And just he said that again and just really laid out the reasons why that's such an impactful thing.
Yeah,
Um, I think there's boldness from Jesus right there.
yeah,
And for me, I don't know about you, I think we read scripture sometimes and we kind of like skim past looking at why Jesus said it or how he said it. And I think one thing we can lean into there is his boldness in claiming that. He
hmm,
didn't he didn't make it easy for people to hear. He didn't sugarcoat it to ease
yeah,
people into it. He just said, "No, this is the reality of the way it is.
yeah.
You want to get to God, you got to go through me. You got to accept me." Um,
It should almost be like a sigh of relief too when you think of it. Like again, it goes back to like it's not a million options. There's not like check boxes of all the things you can do and all the experiences you need to have in order
yeah.
to have salvation. It is through Jesus, the one way, like the one option. And um, I don't know about you. That just makes me feel like, okay, like
No.
I'm really good at doing stuff for a while, but eventually I'm going to get tired, or I'm really good at being kind for a while. And then sometimes I am a little short-tempered. And so I'm glad that it is not based on our performance or our ability, because if that
Come
was the
on.
case, whew,
Yeah, if that was the case, I mean, we're all in trouble,
yeah,
right? It's just the reality of it. Um, I kind of like sparked my mind a little bit talking through some of that, and I kind of want to jump ahead. I've got other notes, but for the sake of time and just for the sake of hitting something that I feel like is important, let's go back to that conversation we had just a second ago about how a lot of people feel like good people, if you're
mm,
just good, you can get
yeah,
to God. The danger in that is we start to compare ourselves to others.
mm,
That's what I
yeah,
wrote down in my notes when PK was talking about that. The good people argument, I guess, is what you would say is whenever we base if we're getting to heaven or not, if we can get to God or not, based on how good we are, we immediately compare ourselves to other people.
yeah,
Am I as good as Pastor Katie? Well, okay, if I am I as good as Pastor John?
mm,
Or am I as good as my brother?
yeah.
And there's a danger in that because people are not the standard.
That's
Like
good.
God's
That's
the
really
standard.
good. That'll
And
preach.
and I think, yeah, it's almost like a sermon that he put inside of it. I think he could have spent
Yeah.
so much time right there. But the thought I had about that is the comparison thing is so dangerous because if you're comparing yourself to other people, you're always going to walk away disappointed because
Yeah.
for every couple of people that you look at and you're like, oh, I think I'm a step ahead of them.
Hmm.
There's 10 more people ahead of you that you do not measure up to.
Yeah.
And then you immediately start to think, well, I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
But the thing about Jesus and the thing about him being the way and the only way is that we're not relying on us, we're relying on him.
Hmm.
And grace removes comparison.
Yeah. That's good.
Whenever we talk about that, um, what's the push for so many people to lean on that I'm a good person mindset?
Hmm.
I know that's a
That's a,
challenging question, but
that's a good question. I think it's because it removes the responsibility of having questions that they don't have answers
mm,
that they approve of or answers that are definitive. I think a lot of times we intellectually want it to be a very simple, basic, like this is this because of this. And with God, there isn't always that. There's times where there's the most beautiful clarity ever, and then there is the times of faith and trusting because things we don't know, things we can't see. And so there's some people, there's one person I know, he is such a good person. Um, and it's someone that our family knows, and it's the epitome of like, man, he's so good, but he doesn't know Jesus. And how sad is that if he were to come face to face with our Maker, our Heavenly Father, and God were to say, like, um, you had no relationship with me. You had the belief that I existed,
Yeah.
but you didn't pursue relationship with me. You didn't trust me. You didn't allow me to move in your life. You just did good things. Um, and you had good character because he does. This gentleman, he has good character. If you didn't have too deep of a conversation, you'd almost wonder, like, does he believe in Jesus? But then you hear things and you're like, oh man, you're missing it.
Yeah.
You're missing the hope that comes from following Jesus. You're missing the eternity in heaven. And um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just so hard. I think it's easier to be good versus to pursue God.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think that's good. I think it's a great example to pull out because I think there's so many people like that that are just great, great people. And you look at
yeah,
them, you're like, I know though, deep down inside, there's an emptiness you
yeah,
feel
yes,
that
yeah,
is a longing. And,
mm-hmm,
it's just, Pastor Kevin said it great. We're all sinful people on level ground at the foot of the cross and in
mm,
desperate need of God's mercy. We are all there.
yeah,
Every single person, believer and non-believer, we are all, we're all sinners. The thing that we have when we put our faith in Jesus, though, is like we have hope and we
yeah,
have that gift of Him giving us what He deserved,
mm-hmm,
but He give it to us anyway. And that's that mercy and that grace. And, I think it's good to kind of like end and lean into the moment of like Jesus makes a way for those people who are still questioning, for those people who are still wondering, is there multiple ways to God?
mm,
And for some of them, maybe it's hard for them to understand and to grasp that there's only one way because Christianity, when you look at it, it does feel like, oh, well, there's mercy, there's grace,
yeah,
there's love, but there's also surrender,
mm-hmm,
right? There's also, you have to surrender your life to Christ, to Jesus. And what I want to encourage non-believers first, because what I
mm-hmm,
want you to have on your mind as I go through this is how can we encourage believers out there to be confident in sharing their faith by saying like Jesus is the only way. So if you can be thinking about that.
yeah,
Um, to the unbelievers though, is Christianity, it's not earning, it's receiving.
yeah,
Jesus
that's
made a
so
way.
good.
Like the cross is God's solution. It's not a demand,
Mm, yeah,
right? He's not demanding, he's calling.
yeah,
I love to think of it in that way. It's an open invitation that he longs for us to be with. He's not demanding it. There's free will,
yeah,
right? We can decide to choose him or not to, but he's constantly pursuing. Um, and it goes back to what PK was saying, like we're all on a level playing field and we all need that grace and that mercy. And what I would tell people who have been questioning for maybe years is like if you get to the point where you realize no, Jesus is the only way, don't believe the lie that you waited too long. Don't believe the lie that
yeah,
you're so far gone that Jesus won't welcome you in, because even in your doubt, even in your questions, even in you pursuing other things to get to him, he was constantly pursuing you
yeah,
along the way, right? So I would just want to would encourage people with that. So, you know, I want to encourage people as we close
mm-hmm,
here today, and I really want them to understand that this question, is there multiple ways to Jesus? Is there multiple ways to God? It can be very easy to think that whenever you have these conversations, it's about winning the argument.
mm-hmm,
It's about getting your point across. But I want to encourage those of you who may be watching right now that it's not about winning arguments. It's not about being right versus being wrong or your opinion being heard over somebody else's, because everybody's going to have different beliefs. It's about pointing people to Jesus.
yeah,
This is
that's
what
good.
this question's about. It's not about winning the argument. It's about pointing people to him, about trying to help open their eyes and helping to see that the invitation is open to everyone. But for the
Mm-hmm,
invitation to be open to everyone, we go back to the very start of this conversation. You have to do it in a way that tears walls down.
Yeah.
not that build walls up. Um, so what would you encourage people with that maybe even gonna go throughout this week or maybe next week, and they're gonna face this question where somebody, a family member or a coworker, comes up to them and says, "Hey, I know you go to church.
Hmm.
I know you're a Christian. Tell me, why is Jesus the only way? Like, aren't there multiple ways?" What would you encourage them with?
Yeah, I think that's great. There's a lot that I could say to it, but I think a couple things that come to mind is I initially was thinking like sometimes we passively, uh, the way we live our life passively, hopefully is showing Jesus, right? When I'm at the grocery store and we both come to the checkout aisle at the same time, when I'm saying, oh, you go first, and I'm kind and loving and caring, not just like being a good person kind, but finding ways to encourage them. Like, hey, I really appreciate that you were going to let me go first, but I would love for you to go first. I'm in no hurry and whatever. Like, if we could find ways to show the love of Jesus, that's great. We should be. And sometimes it is passive, it's how we act. When we're in situations where integrity is needed and character is needed, when people are gossiping, we put a stop to it or walk away. That's like us passively, like somewhat saying
Yeah.
like, I'm representing Jesus and I'm not going to participate in something, or I'm representing Jesus and I'm going to show his joy and his love. And so I think ideally, all the time we're passively showing the love of Jesus. I know sometimes road rage gets the best of me. And there's a reason I don't have any Journey Church bumper stickers on my car. Lord will have to deal with me with that one. But then I think about how we actively need to be sharing the love of Jesus, meaning that we need to really sit down and have conversations with people, especially people we know. And I know, in a sense, we can say like, oh, they already know I follow Jesus, and so like if they wanted to, they would talk to me about it. But really, when's the last time you said, hey, I'd love to sit down over coffee with you, and God's been working in my heart and I want to share it with
That's
you?
good.
And I think that we can think that we do that, but practically speaking, how often are we intentional to say, not a spew of our beliefs, not I believe blah, 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 but to have a conversation of, man, Jesus has changed my life. And you know what? As a mom and as a wife, I've messed up. And it goes back to like, hey, I'm so grateful that I serve the God, the one and only God who, despite me messing up, still loves me, still wants relationship with me, versus I don't have to go have 10 check boxes of good deeds and good works. And I just get to go to him and ask for forgiveness and ask for healing and hope. And he just lavishes it upon me. And so I think just having those conversations so intentionally and knowing that we do carry hope,
Mm.
we do carry truth, we carry love, and we don't need to go into it on the defense because God is uh, going to give us wisdom on what to speak, and we don't have to defend him. Um, Thank God, because I
Yeah.
think he's a way better defender of himself than
100%.
I ever would be. Um, but we hold the truth. We don't hold a secret, right? Like, we don't hold this secret. It is not a secret who Jesus is and what he's done, and that we can go through him. We hold the hope, we hold the truth. And so when we approach sharing the love of Jesus with people, knowing that we do it with hope and not this secret key to unlock something, but something that's freely given at all times, whatever place. It could be in the middle of Pick and Save, it could be in the line at Seven Brew. When we go through it with that perspective, I think we start to see people differently and see the world differently, more like Jesus.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So yeah, I think we really need to be intentional.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great thing to leave them with. And I would just piggyback off of that. I would say also, I know we've already stated it once, but your job, just go into it with the weight off your shoulders. Your job's not to save them or get them to believe. Your job's
Yeah,
to plant the seed. That
yeah,
that's it, with kindness. And then I would double up with after you plant that seed, pray for them.
Yeah,
Pray that
that's
God would
good.
put somebody else in their path that would continue to speak
That's really good.
that over them. And I think when we release that pressure off of us, then it's easier to step into these conversations, one, not being defensive, right? But to step into it with peace and with love and with a little bit of comfort, knowing like our job is to just share what God's done in our
Yeah,
life. So,
it's good.
um, Katie, thanks for your wisdom and just for joining me on this. I love what you gave the people and just the conversation that we got to have over this. I would say if you're watching this right now and you haven't heard the message from this past Sunday, I'll have a link in the description. Go back, listen to that message from Pastor Kevin. And then we hope to see all you guys this Sunday as we continue on in this series called Hard Questions. We will see you guys Sunday.